Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. You are once again welcome here on the Forum of Awakening Consciences on the front page of international news. It's really heating up in Ukraine. In Germany, nothing is going well. Yes, the new German chancellor who has taken this affair of Ukraine and Russia armed the body who once it cost, it sends soldiers at the front in Ukraine, therefore on the ground in Ukraine. We're gonna shoot him here, this new German chancellor. What is Friedrich Mercer's name already? Who has formed an alliance with Macron, with Stay, Keir Starmer. Today it is hot because German public opinion has just risen up against their decision, their will and their ambition. Filmmaker, Germany is the second biggest supporter from Ukraine after the United States of America today. Olaf Scholz, who had begun to wash his hands, Fred Richemas returned to set fire to oil. But he is confronted with the opinion of his own population, the political class. Today, German society is divided. The figures that are available in relation to AU. As for the number of German citizens who now disagree with the policy of supporting the continuity of the conflict, the figure is very high. The Germans want Ukraine to accept the demands of Donald Trump, that Ukraine cede its territory so that peace returns as quickly as possible. That is to say, we are beginning to witness a kind of defection. Poland, which staunchly supported Ukraine, sets Ukraine aside. Germany, which really supported Ukraine. Today, the German political elite has not yet decided, but the population is fed up with it. The German people don't want it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, in the context of this video conference, it is this news that we are going to talk about. But before we continue, I humbly ask you to share this video conference as much as possible. Put a lot of likes and don't forget to take a look at Play Store or Apple Store. Download the app Mean Express. Yes, download. You can proceed with your purchases. Here, let's go into the depths. There is a survey that has been carried out, and the survey highlights what German public opinion thinks about the conflict in Ukraine. Now, that is to say there is a shift, and the results of the poll are as follows. We have 52% of Germans overall, 52% of Germans who believe that Ukraine should cede territories occupied by Russia to end the war. 52% they agree. Ukraine must surrender. These territories are already occupied by Russia. Ending the conflict must be a priority for Ukraine. Here is what the German people said then. It is a figure which marks a shift, since the majority now favors peace at all costs rather than a total military victory for Kiev. They know that Kiev cannot achieve a total military victory, but it is impossible. And as the days pass, Russia intends to rush into the bowels of Ukraine. They are recovering territories. So war weariness and fear of prolonged conflict strongly influence his responses. The Germans are intelligent. They fear that the war will end up on their territory, since their elite had already pushed Russia to put the German on its blacklist as soon as possible. So there are all these aspects and beyond. Everyone hates a war that lasts a long time, so that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is another element that has been added. We have supporters of a German party, the far-right party, and these supporters of this party called the Alternative for Germany, AfD. They are very, very reassembled, and they are today very numerous on German territory. Their speech is starting to take over. The Germans of all sides are beginning to go in their logic, and the weight of the FD in this trend, the figure has gone from 52% to 72%. So we have 72%. Germans who say that Ukraine will cede these territories in the name of peace and peace is priceless. Will Ukraine continue to sacrifice the few soldiers that remain, the few citizens that remain? No, they don't want to. So you also know that the FD has this German far-right party, the Alternative for Germany, is critical of the FD. Regularly, the sanctions against Moscow, they criticize the sanctions against Moscow. There they are. They are much closer to the Russian thesis, and it is their conception is gaining political ground on this pacifist discourse because they come with a pacifist discourse. It is in the process of gaining ground. What human being is not afraid of death? What human being is not afraid of war when you are told that your leaders are provoking war? And you know that you have in front of you a monster which is Russia, which has all the skills of its capabilities, which has all the arsenal that it takes to reduce together a country like Germany. So ultimately, whatever their political side, citizens are afraid they want to protect their lives first. So what are the implications for Ukraine and Europe of such a reversal of public opinion? On the German side first, the impact on Kiev and the war. Such public opinion in Germany weighs on the policy of the federal government because it prevents Germany from making certain decisions because the people do not agree. What if military and financial support were to weaken? This may be the result of German government decisions. If German military support weakens, it will find itself even more isolated. Here is Poland, which separates from Ukraine. Germany also begins little by little through these populations, and the populations put the government in a difficult situation. So for Moscow, these figures represent an indirect victory since there is psychological wear and tear on European opinion. European public opinion is psychologically tired. I continue to hear about the war in Ukraine. War in Ukraine since they themselves on their soil see the consequences, therefore the geopolitical consequences. This survey shows the rise of war fatigue in Europe and particularly marked in Germany. And people are tired, so it risks influencing other European countries where populist movements exploit this sentiment. So on the diplomatic level, pressure could grow to push Kiev to consider a territorial compromise, which Zelensky categorically refuses, but he will be obliged. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this was the front page of international news. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I will return to you later by Almighty grace with new news. It was the voice of your only samurai.